Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mireille. Good morning, Sadia. I'm just texting for the others to
Good
join us.
morning.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes,
Both Mireille and Sadia, you, you are joining others with the effort regarding the translation, and you are contributing this. Yeah, I'm very confident about this. So,
yes, of course, doctor.
Yeah,
right, because yeah, I know you may work in another context in the future, but in general, it's the same, and this is a very important point. Like, okay, yes, different rules, different regulation depending on the in the context, but penalties are penalties. The only thing that differ is the amount of penalty. For example, speeding in Jordan is a penalty. Speeding in the USA or in Bangladesh or in China is the same. It's a crime. However, it is just differ between each other is the amount of penalty. So my point is, yes, we are studying rules and regulations of buildings, but in another context that we may not work in it well. But in general, different cities have they have restriction regarding building height, regarding the FRA, regarding the setbacks, regarding the balconies. All these, like wherever you go, it has some restrictions. Okay, the material that you use in the building facade. However, you just need to adapt or calibrate your information, for example, to match it in terms of the numbers, in terms of the calculations, in terms of the parking slots that's allocated. All this stuff is important to understand, even though that you are working in a different context that you may not work in it. Okay, so don't underestimate this. This is a very important thing. Please turn on your cameras. I need also to join.
Doctor, Rand is trying to join.
I have admitted. Yeah, okay, good. Right. Okay. By the way,
Bahset.
I'm not wearing a pajama, but this type of t-shirt looks like a pajama. I don't know why. In reality, it's much better, but um, I've just realized myself that I look like I'm wearing a pajama or something. Well, anyway, good morning, and good morning, everyone. You hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning.
Okay, good. Right, guys, let me start and proceed with the previous. I'll go for the entire screen. Yeah. Okay. So just to reconfirm that our midterm will be next Thursday. That's for Sadia because she did not attend yesterday's lecture, and we will have it between 10 to 11, half past 11. Doesn't matter. And the material covers all the articles that we are going through up until next Tuesday. This material. So all these are covered. The tip in order to get a high grade for this midterm is to watch the all the recordings. This is number one. Number two, to match this with the translation that's been done by for these articles. I think we will now we are passing. We just start passing Mireille or no, Jihan and Sadia's part of the translation, and now we are crossing into Rand and Mireille parts. So you need to read them, and you need to read it once, twice. But in my recordings, I think mostly because it's about understanding, you need to watch them a lot. You need to watch them and keep taking notes. And these notes that's being taken from the recordings are the core and are critical to get a high grade in the midterm and also in the final. That is that's expected, I think, within a month or a month and a half. Okay, where is so yesterday's lecture we have discussed this article اللي هو article number 33, or sorry, 33, yes. Uh, and we have discussed all the restriction provisions regarding the balconies, regarding the entrance shade, regarding the temporary structures, not permanent structures like pergolas. We have discussed also the rules regarding the sealed balconies and the outdoor balconies, what the regulation of it, and we have also, the most importantly, discussed the commercial extrusion or the commercial protrude, and we also the commercial and the architectural cosmetics and the architectural protrude extrusions. What's the rules and regulation? What the purpose of it? What is permitted and what is not permitted? That's mainly in Amman. That's also match the other context, but to some level. And we have also discussed the tensile structures um, and uh, uh, and what's the regulation regarding those. Today we're talking about now what we call it mezzanine. The right translation, you need to be careful about it when you do your architectural design or when you do um, the naming of the floors is very important in the document. So you need to differentiate between the namings. So you need to know what is the ground floor and how can we name the ground floor or the basement. A very important question that's been asked by Jihan, and I wonder why she has not attended today's and yesterday's lecture. Please just check on her. She's doing right and let me know. She sent me an article that she couldn't understand it, and it's all about the naming of the floors. In fact, let's assume this is a section. Okay, I'm drawing a section. Here is an upper level road, and this is an upper level, a lower level road, and this is a land. Well, we are trying to enhance my mouse sketching skills. Looks like a 5 years old drawing. Anyway, so here we go. We have, maybe this one is good. And this is a land, all right? And you are proposing a building in it. So according to the law, let's assume that this is the building. Okay, and you have maybe a couple of floors, let's say just 2 floors over here. And since you are this, let's assume that you are doing it in a zigzag way. This is the cut and fill. This is another floor. This is another floor. Okay. According to the law, this is named the ground floor because there is a confusion. What is the ground floor? Is that this one we can call it the ground floor, or what's that? Or that one? So according to the law, the floor that is aligned to the natural ground at the upper level, upper street level over here, that is called the ground floor. This one is called basement. Basement 1, basement 2, basement 3, basement 4, basement 5, basement 6. And I want Mireille to ask architect Faris Bagaid about a case اللي هو اسمه الكورال هوتيل اللي هو كان for الخوام real estate development firm. And it's because I did my training in that tower, and we have a similar case like this exactly. So the project is located in a steepy land with different level from the lower road to the upper road. I think there's around 7 or 8 floors. Okay, and you can confirm this information by asking architect Faris Bagaid, if you please, and you can also watch this case. I think I can open. We may see this here. This is the project. I was doing my internship over there, and it wasn't like finished as the one we see it. At the time I left it, it was maybe in this floor, maybe the 17th or the 16th floor. However, I don't know if we can find an image that shows how the different levels of
I
anyway.
can ask one of my supervisors, see like if
And,
we
there
could have
was
like
a
a
lady.
section or something.
Let me just, maybe we can log in into Faris Bagaid. So if we can go over there, projects, maybe here, industrial office, maybe here. Nope. This will be. There we go. That's weird. Yeah, this is still uploading event. Anyway, I don't know why it's not over here. Maybe I'll just try. Still no. Anyway, the website is. That's weird. I remember that many times I went there, and we found. Anyway, if you can just provide some details, share it with us. That would be good. All right, so that's what I would like. That's what I was talking about while discussing it with Jihan, because she asked about it. So this is all about the naming of the floor. Today, Article 34 it discuss another different naming. That's maybe it's not usual for us, and that is called the another floor that's called the mezzanine. بالعربي اسمه الطابق المسلوب, because it's not actually a floor. It is kind of an attic. In the past, if you go to any heritage building, not a heritage building actually, kind of an old building that's been built in the 80s or like 80s, between 80s and 85. It was a common concept in any residential house in Amman or in Jordan to have an attic. If you visit your grandparents' house, you find maybe an attic. That is kind, you are dividing the bathroom height into two parts, and you give the upper one as an attic for storages and to do all the stuff. But they use the same vocabulary here, the same terminology, and attach it to this law. But in fact, this floor is the mezzanine. Let me go to Google Maps as yesterday's to the same area that we have. uh, so as I told you, Amr bin Malik Street, this one that's located from Sharat Bank Arabi, Arab Bank traffic lights up until over there. Most of this road is a regular commercial road, okay? And in fact, we can just see the type, we can see a very good examples of the attics, okay? The attic, actually, you can see it is a floor that is located between the ground floor and the first floor over here. You see this uh, floor. It's not a kind of a semi floor because it does not get a full height, but you have a restriction for the minimum height as well. You can see over here. Well, this one does not have a. Here we can find this attic. Here, this is an attic. This one is an attic. Okay. This floor is an attic. So here, this is called the ground floor. This is called basement one because it's open to outdoor. Okay. So ground, basement, mezzanine, first floor, second floor, the third floor. This is how we do the naming. The same thing over here. Ground, mezzanine, first, second, third. Okay. And that is what we call it the mezzanine. Let me just go through the rules of it. So you are permitted to do this mezzanine in the commercial land use category in general. Okay, he did not identify, the legislator did not identify where to, either which type of commercial, like the one in regarding the commercial protrude. Okay, they confined it just for the regular commercial, all right? But here it's in the commercial in general, and in the industrial, and in the multi-use, okay? In the multi-use categories. Yeah, one of the main important thing regarding the attic is, let me see, this is a section in the building. So you have the ground floor, okay? This is the ground floor. And then let's assume you have the attic over here. So struggling in this, yeah, okay. So this is the ground floor, and you would like to have an attic. One of the main rules, the only accessibility, and this is very, very important, the only accessibility for the mezzanine in this floor, it should be through a vertical circulation whether it is electrical or it is a physical, like stairs or a lift. You are not permitted to get into this floor, okay, from the staircase surrounding it at its level. So you need to get from the ground floor, and then you go up in the same from this part, then you go up to the mezzanine. You're not permitted to get from this side. Okay? So what's that mean? Let's assume that you have this is the floor, the plan, and you are building, this is the main entrance, for example, and you have here a staircase. Okay? And the staircase goes as you remember, as you go through the different levels. So let's assume that you have a commercial unit over here, and in the you have a mezzanine. If they notice that you have the mezzanine get an accessibility from the upper level, they will not give you the permission for the blueprints, or will not give you a construction license, because they will ask you to amend your plans. Okay, this is a very important thing. I hope you understand it. So the only accessibility for this height زي ما حكينا, you need to get it from vertically from inside the اللي هي outlet. Okay, because mostly these are kind of a shops, and because this part could be as an annex, as a service annex, like you can use it for a storage. If you have a restaurant, it could be you prepare your food over there, or it could be a storage for the refrigerators. If it's a bank, you can use it as an offices. It's fine, but anyway, you are not permitted to get an access from the same level of the mezzanine. You need to go from the bottom to up, vertical circulation or electrical vertical circulation, whatever it is convenient for you. That's no problem. C, you are not allowed to do any commercial protrude for this this floor, or any balcony. For example, if you come to the same here, so the commercial protrude, it should start from the first floor, not from here. So you're not allowed to do commercial protrude. He 1.80 if the road is about 16 meter width. You're not allowed to do starting from here. This one should not have any commercial protrude or architectural protrude or any balconies. You're not allowed to do balconies over there. Okay, so you are only allowed to start the commercial protrude just starting from the first floor. Okay. There about the room height. Okay, so we're talking about the heights. The height from this point to this point should not be lower than 5.5 from this part, the whole ceiling height over here. This distance should not be less than 5.5, and the clear height inside the mezzanine should not be less than 2.25. صح؟ مترين وربع. So that's a very important thing. And the material of the mezzanine should not be should be constructed from a material that's resistant to fire, like a concrete slab or whatever. You are not permitted to do it like a wood or steel, like uncoated steel or whatever. So you need to use it for you need to construct it from a material that's resistant to fire. Mostly they're doing it as another slab in the building. So in order to adhere with the regulation, and it should have a mechanical or a natural ventilation, and that's why you are permitted to do openings in it, so to admit natural light or to admit whatever a natural light or like natural ventilation. Is it clear? The so we can move to another article. Is it clear now, guys?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Article 35 it talks about mainly building the roof floor اللي هو mainly we can see it in the same area. It was a very controversial article. Sometimes the the municipality of Amman admit the construction of it. Then another governor, another شو اسمه mayor comes and suspend it. Then another mayor comes and admit it. Then whether the mayor has a good understanding of it or not, this is not good for investors because you need to have a stable environment. Yeah. You can't just come and keep changing and suspending change. So, and this is addressed in this law. And what they say, you are permitted to do the roof of the building. It's fine. The roof floor اللي هو طابق السطح. Let me just find the neighborhood. Maybe this one. لا كثير بلد. Anyway, these buildings is being built in the era where was the former mayor Aqil Beltaj. He prohibited the construction of the roof. So as you can see here, these buildings, since they are built in the same area, the same uh, uh, era of the previous Aqil Beltaj's mayor, there is no roof. But you can see this building over here. It contains a floor that is called the roof. This is permitted only 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is a roof. So this is an old building, older than this one. And the new buildings, because this one has not been updated, you can see recently they permitted the building of the roof, but with very couple of restrictions. So you are permitted to do this if you are if you would like to use it as a building for the service of the building or for all the equipment and utilities of the solar photovoltaics, like an inverter or the control panel. So you may do the building the roof. Also, you can use it for the green roof or whatever. What is the restrictions? The restrictions, where is it? No. هذا احنا so it's the subsection H. That's the one that's covered the roof here. We will come back and cover this thing. But the one that's regarding the roof, it is in subsection H, this one. أن لا يزيد ارتفاع على نقطة. It talks about the height. Just please give me a second. Okay. So the very first the very first restriction is that the highest point of the roof should not exceed 3.25 meters from the floor that's being constructed upon it. That's mean, and this is related not from the clear height inside your room. It's about the ceiling from the outdoor. Okay, all this should not exceed more than 3.25. That's mean you have 50% frontal setback for this land use category. For example, let's assume that I am doing now the floor plan للروف آخر شيء the very the اللي هو الروف of the building, and I need to do اللي هو ايش الroof, and this could be attached. This is the typical one. So this is the staircase, and maybe this is the entrance. Okay, and from the staircase you can attach it. The building roof should be attached to the staircase, right? You are only permitted to have an access, a separated access to the roof if it's being used for utilities for the building, like green roof or solar photovoltaics, whatever. If you would like to use it as a residential, you need to have a vertical opening that is open from the apartment underneath it. So you go as like the same concept in the mezzanine. You need to go a vertical circulation if you would like to use it as a residential, and then you are not permitted to have any openings from it to the surrounding. Okay, that means in order to prohibit them to extend it and use the other remaining spaces. Okay, however, the only thing that they are required, the very first thing is the frontal setback. So this is the boundary of the building, and let's assume this is residential A. Residential A, the frontal setback is 5 meters. Okay, so you need to leave 2.5 meters from the boundaries of the building to the roof. So you are not allowed to do it like here, like just leaving like 1 meter. Okay, you need to leave clear 2.5, then you can construct the roof. Okay, then what is the next one? Another restriction اللي هو you are not permitted to do any openings in the ceiling in order to not to go from the building, from the roof up above. Also you are نلاحظ مساحة طابق السطح شنو مساحة من ذلك لا تتجاوز 100 من الموضوع. Okay, in terms of the area, this area should not exceed more than 20% of the total floor area. For example, this one. Let's assume that this is 1,000. The land is 1,000 meters square, and it is residential area. That means I'm permitted to do 390. What is a meter square? The building, the height boundaries, all this one. What is 20% of 390? Go to the calculator. 390 multiplied by 2. So 78.
20% is the build-up area.
20%, yes, of the roof area, of the floor area. That's the floor area, and he 390. Okay, so the whole area, I'm talking about this area, including the stairwell or the staircase, with the roof should not exceed 78 meters square, or at max اللي هي 100 meter square. Okay, so whichever is low. If the percentage 20% is lower than 100, so you go with it. If it is higher, you go with the 100 meters square. Okay, so all the area is calculated as once. تمام. Okay, so here they say that it's not permitted. It's also a very important thing when you do the design, you cannot do any the openings. For example, this is the section. You are not permitted to do the elevator to open at the same level of the building, the roof. Okay, so in buildings, particularly in multi-residential apartment, the very last opening for the vertical circulation اللي هو left is at the fourth floor. You're not eligible to open another opening at the roof floor. This is prohibited. Okay, so be careful when you design a section of the elevators. So the very last floor that because this is very important, they need to check if the openings of the elevator that stops at the very last floor. If you open it at the floor, the roof floor, they will ask you to close it. Okay. Moreover, more restrictions. And لا يمنع طرف okay. Yes, this article, subsection 6 says, let's come to our case. You need to get it, this roof floor in the design should not get in the way to access for the roof, because sometimes they're using it for water tanks or whatever. So, for example, most typical, they have this opening for on the left, if you're working it as a service for the building, and another opening over here to go out to the roof. Okay, but you can't just close all the stairway and say the accessibility through this roof. If you would like to go through the floor for the water tanks over here, you need to get access through the roof. No, this is prohibited. You need to make sure that in building the roof does not restrict access to the roof at general. Okay, this is very important. Moreover, you may subdivide it into two parts. For example, let's assume you need to have a part of it over here, for example, solar photovoltaics, and part of it like here. Let's assume that this works with you, while you're still providing 2.5 frontal setback. You may divide it, but the general thing, you need to make sure, okay, that the total area over here does not exceed اللي هي الاريا restriction اللي هي حكيناها هنا, this one اللي هي 87, 78 or whatever. So why are we doing this? For example, you can have this for the solar photovoltaics, and this could be used for HVAC system. Well, it depends, and it's fine. Yeah, the whole idea is you are not permitted to use it as a residential and should not prohibit any access to the roof. So you can use this part to access the roof, but you are not also permitted to access through it to the roof. This is very wrong. Why? Because once you have, it should have just one opening. It should not, you are not permitted to have any openings from the roof like a door. But you can have window for ventilation or illumination, but you are not permitted to have a door access from the room to outdoor. Okay. You are also required to do a parapet on the ceiling of it, not exceeding 50 centimeters. And the very last thing, there is some kind of a guarantee that the owner need to provide it, that he or she must adhere with this restriction, because the Jordanian are very a smart population. What they do is they do a French window over here for this, and they say this is a French style window, and then after they get the occupation permission, they just knock the very first layer اللي هي 20 30 سم, or they still keep it and they are just going from the window and they use this as a balcony and they just restrict it for their own usage. Well, they need to make sure so they the owner of it, they need to provide a guarantee to adhere to these restrictions. Why? Because using this is kind of a breach of the privacy of the neighbors, okay, and it cause a lot of disturbance in the neighborhood. Why? Because you don't consider when they do the urban planning, when they say that this neighborhood is just 4-story max, there is a capacity for the infrastructure. If that guy used this roof as a single family, separated, isolated household, that means there's an extra family over here. We're talking about the average family number in Jordan is 5 point or 4 point something, for let's say 5. Okay, and you're talking about the same road. There is maybe 20 separated buildings. 20 multiplied by 4, there is an 80 people extra are using this place. Or I'm not talking about a very simple, just road. Not talking about the whole neighborhood. Those people needs more electricity, needs water, needs cars. They use cars, okay, to park their cars. It's around. It's also about services. Sometimes this neighborhood, they have small shops or something. They may start asking for extra services. So this is the whole idea of it is to restrict the number of usages in this neighborhood. Because when they do that, this road is 12-meter width or 18-meter. It depends on the amount, the number of people, and this is a very complicated calculation in the urban design. When they need to do when they design the governors or the local council or the experts, they need to know the number of people are living in this neighborhood. According to this, they design the width of the road and the amount of fresh water to be supplied and the electricity load as well. Many restrictions. So that's why they are very serious about the numbers of single residential or isolated residential household in any building. In the past, two years ago, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, before enacting this legislation, there was a suggestion in order to control the prices of apartments in Amman to increase to increase the height of the buildings, to add 5 floors, not 4 floors, and the roof. And according to a thorough study, the municipality concluded that we don't have the infrastructure in Amman to accept or to introduce another floor, an extra floor on the roof. Okay, so to have 5 floors instead of 4. So it's all about infrastructure and availability, and because electricity عندنا, for example, we have an aging infrastructure in terms of the sewage system, the drainage, the flooding. All it is not like modern facilities. So that's why they prefer to expand horizontally, to go to the eastern part of Amman rather than to go vertically. Some part of Amman, they introduce something called an intensification. And this is a very important concept in Amman 2025. They say, okay, this road has the facilities, has the infrastructure, have the capability to increase its height and to introduce 3 or 4 floors extra on top of that. So that's the case happened in the road اللي هو between the 8th circle up to the 6th circle. They increased the height according to the concept of intensification, right? And but in some parts of Amman, not between in the residential neighborhoods. That's mainly done for the commercial land use categories, not for the residential. Residential have never been changed since maybe the 70s. Maximum 4 floors, unless it's been introduced now in the new law, اللي هي multi-use category and the popular high density housing. They yes introduced a higher like 72 meters high-rise building, residential high-rise building. Yes, but this is recent. But the classical residential, like residential A, B, C, whatever, the maximum is 4 floor above the natural ground level. That's the max. Okay, so article. Let's go back to Article 35. Let's talk about the parapet on the roof. That it should not the parapet. It should not go. It should not be below 1 meter and should not be above 1.5. So you should have it between 1 meter and 1.5. And the elevator should not serve a roof. That's an important thing. And the other thing is actually is not important. The only thing that I would like you to do to focus on it is the building roof and its restrict and regulation. Article 36 is covering a very important part. It's called الأنكس. الأنكس اللي هو بالعربي البناء الفرعي. Okay, so and then we will stop over here. الأنكس اللي هو البناء الفرعي. So let's come back to sketching. So let's say that you have a building over. This is the land. Okay. Oh, come on. This is, for example, the land, and if we go, this is quicker, and this is the building. Okay, and you are not permitted to build on all the sidal or the rear setbacks. However, you are permitted to do so to build a small room, not exceeding 50 meters square at max, or 5% of the total land area, whichever is low. For example, if the land is 1,000 meters square, okay, multiplied by 0.05, that means you will have 50 meters square as an annex building. What is the annex? Like a very simple thing. You may have a small room over here, 5 by 5, 25 meters, and another small room by here, for example, another 5 by 5. Okay, you can divide them, it's fine. And this room should not have any openings to the neighbors, like window or doors, for sure. And you should not have any accessibility to the roof of it. Okay, but you are only you can use it, and you should not have it or to build it on the frontal setback. You can have it in the sidal or sidal setbacks or the rear setbacks. You are only permitted to do this annex building in the frontal setback in the industrial land use. Why? Because they think it could be as a place for the security to admit lorries to getting in or getting out, to control accessibility. But in the residential, you may have this annex اللي هو البناء الفرعي in the sidal or the rear setback. Okay, very important thing. So what is the restrictions? That you should not have the area should not exceed 5% or 50 at max. For example, if you have this, if the land size is 1,200 meter, that means you're talking about multiply by 0.05, talking about an extra 60 meters. Okay, so you are not permitted to have 30/30. No, maximum is 50 or 5% of the land area, whichever is low. If it's 900, so you are permitted to only have 45%, 45 meters square, sorry. All right, let's be clear about this. You need to provide a frontal setback for this room. That means, in other words, you are not permitted to build in this zone, in the frontal setback. Okay, so some people, what they do, they use it as a car park, or they use it as a storage, or they could use it in the rear setback as a service for the pool, like for the filters or the chemicals that's required for the maintenance of the pool. Or could be used for the pets. If they have a pet in the garden, yeah, you can build it somewhere over here with zero setbacks, side setbacks. But the only thing, the whole concern, that you need to make sure that it could not cause any disturbance to the surrounding neighbor from noise or smell or whatever. So you're not permitted to have, for example, boilers, and it makes a loud noise. So your neighbors may do some complaints, and local council ask you to relocate it or to just knock it down. Okay. It's the ceiling. I'm talking about structural slab level. The ceiling, it should not exceed 2.6 from the. Let's assume that we have this is a sectional view. This is the land, the natural land. Okay. هذا هو
I have noticed one thing from the articles that they always mention about the height from the floor tiles, ground floor tiles.
Yes, it should be. We calculate the building height. In the past, they put the building height from the structural slab level. Nowadays, they change it not from the SSL, from the FFL, finished floor level. So, in order to get an occupation permission, you need to do the tiles at least for the main entrance, at least for the main entrance, in order so the technical council, when they come and investigate your building, they need to check the height from the finished floor, not from the structural floor level. Okay. Okay, Sadia.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back to an annex building regarding the ceiling height. What they say, if you decided that you put it in the rear setback, you take the height level هنا, okay, 2.6 from the natural land topography, which is over here. Okay. If you decided to put it, let's take a sketch over here. This is a plan I am doing it. All right. Let's assume this is, if we took a section in this land, and this is the section. This is section A, right? And we have this sketch, and here is the main road. So if you decided to put the annex over here, what's the permitted height I have it? You need to go to check the topography over here. Okay. And then you need to maximum get it 2.6 the structural floor level. Maybe you will have 30 centimeters for the slab, so you have 2.30 اللي هو average اللي هو lower per height that's permitted for human uses. Okay, there is no height less than 2.25 that's permitted for human usages. Okay, if, for example, you decided to put it over here, right? The same thing applies. It means you decided to put it in the sidal setback. All right. So you need to take into consideration to go to the topography, and wherever this cross, for example, it's crossed this line, this room, and the level here, for example, is 2.5, for example. So the level of this room should be 1,000. 2.5 plus 2.65 maximum اللي هو 1,000 maybe 5 something. Okay, that's the whole idea when you're talking about leveling تبع why they doing this restriction. So they do this restriction in order you will not this room الهايت تبعها to be higher than the neighborhood. Let's imagine that your neighbor is living over here, and then you have a higher ceiling, and then you can expose him. All right, the whole idea that when you build ceiling does not exceed هو ايش fencing or boundary wall surrounding your property or his or her property. The whole idea is to get the ceiling below the height of the boundary wall. Why? Because the law admit us to get it as 2.5 maximum, right? 2.5 maximum. That's the اللي هو boundary wall. Now subsection C or D, it tells put the restriction regarding the usages of the annex, that it's all about having services for the building. You may use it as a car park or for the housekeeper room, or for the guards room, security room, or a storage, or it could be used for sealing of it as a passage for car park, and this needs an explanation. Sometimes, okay, let me. Okay. So let's assume that this is a land, and this is the floor. This is street level. Okay. And it's also, this land is served by another road, so it comes on a curve. The plan, let's assume, is like this. So this is a road over here, and this is a road over here. This road is low, level تبعه at the same level at this part, but here is higher. So the other road comes like here. And you can see a sidal setback of a car. So what's that mean? You can use it as a ceiling تبعها. In this case, let's have this building as a ground floor. It's fine, you can have access to it. In the sidal setback, you decided to have your annex over here with 0 setbacks. That means you can, in the ground floor, if you use it as a car park, you can use the ceiling of this, because this is lower, to get an access the cars over it, or you could park the car on top of it, that serves the ground floor. That's permitted. Okay. So in the bottom of it, you can use it as a services or a storage room or whatever. But at the higher level over here, you can use it as a car park. All right, that could serve the ground floor over here. That's the whole idea how this could happen. The other one is all about the article. It's about its restrictions to prohibit any noise or any misuse of this annex that may affect the surrounding people or the neighbors. Okay, I think that's everything for today. I hope you have understand what I've discussed, and you get a lot of new information. Please let me know if you have any inquiry. Everything is good, clear, simple, sir. Just in order to get all this information in the back of your brain, in order whenever it comes to you, yes, there is a rule or regulation that covers this. Let's come back and double check if my design is going according to standard. And also, most importantly, remember yesterday I discovered something new, اللي هي sealed balconies. I don't know about it. What if I am the owner came to me as a consultant, and I am the consultant, the principal agent don't know he has the advantage to do so because his property is located on a 12-meter width road. He will be prohibited, okay, or he will be exempted from having this advantage for himself or for his consumers or customers. So this is why I'm telling you many things that is permitted by law, particularly the annex building. That's why I've discussed it right now. Most of the architects they don't know about it, and this is applied in all municipalities around Jordan. So as an architect, when you know these rules, you may advise him, okay, do you know that you are permitted to do 50 meters square as a room here in order to get a service for your housekeeper or for a housemaid or whatever? Some people, they don't know it. So once they get this information, they may be welcoming it. The same thing for the balconies. The same thing for the roof. Okay. So once you are you know all these provisions, you know what's prohibited and what is permitted. I think you are facilitating and you're doing your job right, facilitating investment at the end of the day. Okay. So that's why it's very important to know the rules and regulation. Even though you will be located in a different country, the very first thing to do, my advice, is to understand legislation, rules and regulation that govern the building, because this is kind of playing a game. You will not succeed a game without know the rules of it. Cristiano Ronaldo, Magic Cristiano Ronaldo, with all his skills, with all his fitness, and doesn't know the rules of football, he will not be a good player. And as simple as that. So even though that you are a very good architect and you have a very good imagination and you have a beautiful design, you will not succeed if you do not know the legislation of that governs the building laws or regulation. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions. Good.
No questions. Thank you.
يعطيكم العافية. I think you are free to leave if you do not have any questions.
Okay. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye bye. Have a nice
Bye,
weekend.
guys.
All of you. Bye bye.